Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the MadCap. So early. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the MadCap. I'm Jasmine Pazzano.
And I'm DeClara. On today's Unhinged broadcast,
we'll tell you the tale of Rob Ford's office fish.
How one waitress was fired for not dishing out some coin.
A news anchor's response to some frigid photos.
And the world's classiest Anchorman is TSN's new curling correspondent. But first.
This story was splashed all over the Toronto Sun's front page on Saturday. Most of Rob Ford's mayoral powers have been handed off to Deputy Mayor Norm Kelly. But at least Rob has sole custody of his pet fish. The Sun's punny headline, official breakup. The fish tank was moved out of Norm's offices on Friday and into Ford's new office, aka the reception area. The Sun City Hall reporter, Don Pete, says the fish is one of the many signs that there's a new political reality at City Hall. He also mentions City Hall changed the locks to what used to be the mayor's staff offices. Ford's old office, ironically known as the fishbowl for its glass walls, is now fishless. The space now belongs to Norm Kelly. I don't know if this was front page worthy, but this is hilarious. Who knew Bobby Ford even had a fish? But Don did link it back to the changes at City Hall, so I think in that way it is relevant. I'm sure little changes like this are happening every day.
It's funny to think of the things that are covered during these media blitzes. Again, I kind of agree with you. I'm not sure why this is on the front page, but I guess everything at City Hall nowadays is. Serving food is one of the hardest jobs out there for young adults. Long hours, low wages, and picky customers are an unfortunate reality. On the rare occasion, these things fail in comparison to some of the managers or co-workers you slave away with. Suzanne Parrott knows this all too well. Working on a busy night shift, one of Parrott's tables dine-and-dashed on a $96 bill at Pig and Whistle in Midtown Manhattan. When Parrott informed her manager of the incident, he told her she needed to cover the bill or he would have to split it among the servers that evening. Obviously upset, Parrott took her story to Reddit in an attempt to find the three men who left without paying. She never found them, but filed a complaint with the labor board against the restaurant. Eugene Wilson, the restaurant's manager, says he wasn't even sure someone named Suzanne worked at the establishment and denied firing anyone. Jasmine, in this story on Gawker, the labor board says it's illegal to take deductions or payment for losses or damages, and I think I have to agree with this. This is something that happens at restaurants frequently, and I mean, it was a busy night. I think she was trying her best, and at the end of the day, it was an honest mistake.
I couldn't agree more. Waitstaff always seem to get the brunt of it, and if they're having an off day, they don't get tipped, among other things. They especially can't control who comes into restaurants. It's impossible. She shouldn't be responsible when this kind of thing happens.
If you've ever been to Alberta, you know how majestic the mountains can be. The same thing can be said in Colorado, and one news anchor wants to make that clear. Snow is on the way, and, like always, broadcasters are asking viewers to send in pics of the fluffy white stuff. After seeing some of the things sent into the 9 News newsroom in Denver, Kyle Clark was sick and tired of the mediocrity.
Yes, everyone is impressed you have a 4-piece set. We saw it at Costco too. Chair covers? Somebody got a raise. A grill? Nice. 3 grills? Easy there, Bobby Flay.
Clark shows a montage of photos featuring patio furniture, snow shoveling, and some frolicking pets. He's clearly over these tired images and pleads for Coloradans to do better. The whole video, Jasmine, is hilarious if you guys get a chance to check it out, and it's really true what he says when you think about it. People always snap these winter photos from inside their house because, you know, it's nice and cozy and warm, but I think if you're going to take the time to send in a photo to a TV station, you got to put some effort into it.
Yeah, if you're going to go there, really go there. I think that these TV segments are fun, but definitely not necessary, especially in places where snow is not only expected, but it's inevitable. It always surprises me how shocked people are when we get snowfall in Toronto, and they're always so amazed when it comes. And of course, they have to take pictures of it, but whatever makes them happy. We're in for an afternoon delight this Sunday.
Winnipeg, get ready to paint the town burgundy.
The Anchorman, Ron Burgundy, will help cover Canada's Olympic curling trials this weekend. He will be calling the live-action game on TSN alongside veteran broadcaster Vic Rauter. The most famous fake Anchorman ever is played by actor Will Ferrell. Do I care about curling, Greg? Not at all. But I do love me some Ron Burgundy. I want to see how he'll do as an actual broadcaster. Plus, I think his appearance will draw a huge crowd to watch the sport in Canada, and I think that's really cool.
It's definitely some smart marketing. I think TSN is wounded right now after that huge deal that Rogers signed with the NHL.
Right.
And I think it's really going to be great promotional material for the curling as well. I mean, people in Canada love it, but I mean, it's always kind of one of those lower level sports. So I think it's great.
The winners of the tournament will represent Canada at the Sochi Winter Games next year. You can catch the legend on Sunday at the Winnipeg Curling Trials called Roar of the Rings at 2 p.m. on TSN.
I'm a huge curling fan and can't wait for that. Speaking of Anchorman, the Ryersonian was lucky enough to interview some of the stars of the sequel, Paul Rudd and Steve Carell. Reporter Sydney Poulos was part of a conference call with different North American universities. She got all the inside information, and she's joining us now. Thanks for being here, Sid.
Well, thanks for having me.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the new movie and what you learned?
So the sequel follows the Channel 4 news team as they make the move from San Diego to New York to work on a new 24-hour news channel. And considering how funny the first film was, I'm sure hilarity will ensue in this film. And on the actual call, Paul Rudd and Steve Carell answered about 10 questions with 60 universities on the line. The universities were called out at random, and luckily Ryerson was number 3. So I asked the pair for their tips how to seduce girls. But most of the questions were about what it was like coming back to the franchise after so long.
Were there any strange questions?
Well, actually, one girl from the University of Colorado got on the line, and she said she wanted to spice things up, which made me a little nervous. She asked the pair if she was laying on a table naked, covered in sushi, where would they start eating first? And their answer was actually pretty hilarious. They said they would start eating at McDonald's because they wouldn't do that.
She's brave.
Yep, definitely. A lot of the questions were kind of mediocre and boring, so good for her for standing up and doing something creative.
Definitely. And how do you think Steve and Paul were on the phone?
Very nice, very relaxed, very funny, very open. Some people asked them about basketball and stuff like that, and they were just open to answer anything. Very welcoming.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Sid.
Thanks for having me.
You can catch all of Sydney's coverage on Ryersonian.ca and in the new issue of the Ryersonian newspaper on newsstands now.
That's it for this week's episode of the MadCap. Just a reminder that you can see all of the stories we mentioned in the links below our podcast. We want to thank everyone for listening each week. We had a blast putting this together, and we hope it gets picked up by Rogers in the new year. Remember, every human spent half an hour as a single cell in the womb.
And be careful with nutmeg this holiday season. Too much of the spice can kill you. I'm Greg DeClara.
And I'm Jasmine Pazzano.